we do is we like to sponsor internships for young people who are interested in horticulture and botany. And we were honored to be able to provide an internship for Bridget Lee at the Huntington Library of Botanical Gardens Art Museum and everything else in Pasadena. And we have Bridget with us tonight. She's going to give a short presentation about her internship. She is a student at Poly San Luis Obispo, and it's really sounds like she had a good time on her internship. And I'm going to let her tell you about it, but I'm glad to have her with us. And I'll let you go ahead and share your screen, Bridget. And thank you for being here.
All right, everyone can see my screen, hopefully. Okay. So yeah, to go over really briefly, I worked at the Huntington Library over the last summer. So it was running from June 16th to July 23rd. So a little bit about me again. I am an undergraduate senior at Poly SLO, and my major is biological sciences with an emphasis in botany. I am Korean American and I live in Orange County, San Capistrano. I have a decent amount of houseplants in my little greenhouse IKEA cabinet right here. And I just love plants. And so I grew up visiting the Huntington Library many, many times. So that was one of the reasons why this internship appealed to me very much. And one of my future ambitions in the plant science field is that I do want to become an herbarium curator one day. Besides that, I do also love plant pathology and botanical art. And so a little bit about the research that I do in my undergraduate studies. I've done 3 different researches, one being the BRC, which is pretty much where we gather a ton of plant data, and we regress that data and see if there's a correlation between island colonization with a plant. And one of the major traits that we test for is self-compatibility, and we test whether self-compatible plants are more likely to successfully colonize an island versus self-incompatible plants. And so my next research opportunity is a small independent project. I pretty much just went out to the field and collected plasma arenarium samples, and I shipped it off to the Bonn University in Germany. And then my last research opportunity that I work on is my herbarium research course, where pretty much I collected data from one species of plant and regressed it to see if there was a difference between, or if there's a correlation between the rising temperatures and the shifting flowering period. Yeah. And so getting into the internship now, I began working in the desert collections at the Huntington Library. At first, I would take cuttings, I would take plants off of the shelf and sort through them, and then I would take cuttings and then sort through whether I need to keep it for the collections or put it to the sales. And then I would repot the plant with new soil and then cut off all the dead parts and then file it back away onto the shelf. And yeah, it was really fun. And so here are some very notable genera of plants that I saw. We have classic Epiphytic, and then some rare Heliosarius, and some Salus Salinisarius, and Worklosarius. Yeah. And so after I completed my bench, I was able to work on other things in the internship. One of them being working in the Desert Botanical Garden outside, where I pretty much was designated a small area in the Botanic Garden to clean and maintain pretty much. And so first I went through to remove all the unwanted plants and rake out all the dead leaves. And then I would place fertilizer on top of the soil, and then I would plant new plants into the little garden bed that I was designed. Yeah. And so here is a picture before, what it looked like. And then here's a picture after I cleaned up everything. So you can see how I strategically placed different kinds of plants. to just showcase them to people wanting to look at botanical gardens and things like that. And so one of the major things about this was that I was able to create this beautiful crescent moon shape where I was able to plant plants pretty much in like a trickling pattern, which I thought was really neat. Yeah. And so another task I was able to do during my internship was to work at the herbarium. And so here is just like a quick time lapse of me working at the herbarium, just classic mounting tasks. And yeah, I really liked my the experience I was given at the herbarium because I was able to mount things, which I love to mount specimens in any herbarium. And what was crazy was that I was able to work with the sewing needle for the very first time. And so I sewed a specimen into herbarium paper, which I thought was really neat. And then one of the other major tasks I was given at the herbarium was to reorganize the plant specimen files as the plant family Agavaceae was merged with Asparagiaceae, so I had to merge the data as well, which I thought was really neat. And then also in addition, I was able to collect a plant from the desert collections and press it, dry it and press it, and then mount it onto herbarium paper, which I thought was really cool. So this is just running again. Okay. So some other notable highlights of my internship was that I loved coming in very early in the morning and just seeing the garden in its full beauty in the morning light. I mentioned earlier that I used to come to the Huntington Library a lot as a kid, but I was never able to come during the early morning, which I think it gave a whole new perspective on the Huntington Library, which I never saw before, which is really cool. Yeah. And so here is a little clip of the desert garden in the early morning, which I thought was really serene and beautiful. Yeah, and it was just really nice to work on it in the future. And so here are some other notable blooms. I thought that they were really pretty, and I just couldn't help but take a picture and put them in my slide. And yeah, one other major event in the internship was that I was able to see the largest corpse flower in bloom at the Huntington Library. It was the largest recorded in the Huntington Library, I think ever. And I also think it was the largest in California, which is very cool. And I was able to take close up photos with it, which I thought was really neat. And then yeah, my last day of the internship, Sean Lemaire actually threw a little lunch party for me, which I thought was really nice. And then yeah, so that pretty much concludes my presentation. I want to give a big thank you to John Chager and Sean Lemaire and any other worker at the Huntington Library who helped me out. Also, a big thank you to the Huntington Library, of course, and then thank you to Aaron Castillo and the Southern California Horticultural Society for sponsoring my internship. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Bridget. Boy, that was a really nice presentation. I mean, wow.
Thank you.
And lucky you for being able to work at the Huntington. I live up here in Ventura now, so I miss being able to go there on a more regular basis, but I'm glad you got to spend some time there, and looks like you're off to a promising career. So thank you so much for the presentation, and I'm glad you got to do that. I do